So these were
Oh,
fellow 11-year-olds that were trying to recruit you into the religion.
no, they were older. Actually, they were 3 years older than me.
They're not even allowed to say amen. See, a simple thing as to say amen. And they basically do not acknowledge other people's prayers.
So that is the mother who died.
Mm-hmm.
The elders went to the funeral
Yeah.
and instructed the man not to come out of his house. In some exams, we could even find Awake magazine in the article part. In final exam, grade 12.
Seriously.
But you can't do that, said one of the critics.
It doesn't bother me.
Really? Again? Really?
Look at that little enemy of God.
Somehow we dilly-and-dally, takes us years, and we wonder why.
What are you waiting for?
Because when I entered this kingdom war, I was treated like, like this new toy. When children have got old toys, then you buy them new toys. They all shift
You're right.
to a new toy.
Yeah, so that's what we call love bombing.
Yes. I felt like this is now true Christianity. I've never felt such love before. Even some girls that I could hardly speak to when I'm at my church, who couldn't even look my way, they were there being the first to initiate conversation with me. What?
Right.
This is the place.
Right.
Actually, I want you to be my teacher.
So you want the pretty girls to start studying the Bible with you and
studying with me
and indoctrinating you. Okay.
So that's how it started. But it failed though. In Kasungula there, that's where now the watchtower struck a chord. When anxieties now were filled in my head, and I only had my comforter were the books.
Right. So had you completed your schooling at this point?
Yes, I had completed. I was looking forward to enter university.
Right. Okay. So you became a bit desperate.
I became desperate, and I was leading a lot of watchtower propaganda.
Right. And did you get convinced with the doctrine at this point, or was it just pure desperation?
This time, it was it was more like a grand finale. I don't know how I can say it, because I got that yellow book, studied it, and I just liked what I was reading.
Right.
I was like, this is the truth.
Right.
That's how I took it seriously. The Kingdom War was 7 kilometers away, but I was moving by foot in the middle of a park.
Right. So when you say you read that Bible teach book, was it just you reading it on your own, or was there like a teacher, a Jehovah's Witness, that was indoctrinating you?
I read it on my own first. Then I was taught that you can't just say you read it, then you want to progress unless someone comes through,
Again, another of those crazy and biblical Jehovah's Witnesses teachings. Where does it say in the Bible that somebody has to sit with you, and you're not even reading the Bible, you're reading this man-made book,
which is the letter phased out.
Yes,
which is later phased out.
Exactly, because it's old light. Yeah,
it becomes obsolete.
Yes, indeed. So, how old were you at this point when you
at this point, I was now 20. I was 19.
Okay, so in your late teen. So you got baptized at that point then?
I didn't. I read and I started looking for someone. I was chasing the man to teach me. He wasn't that really. He wasn't really that committed. He was a bit. He was busy with his one thing. So every time I could go, teach me. I want to get baptized.
Yeah.
So that's how my.
Yeah, and I think this is another interesting thing, because as we were saying earlier, the Jehovah's Witnesses are quite respected in Zambia. It's kind of like an elitist religion. in Zambia. So sometimes what happens is that people, I don't know what the situation is. I think it depends on the area as well. Sometimes people actually queue up to join this religion, and they have to chase people up, like in your case, so that they can have that access of being taught and then get baptized. So it's almost like a prestige thing to get baptized as a Jehovah's Witness.
Yeah.
So did you ever get baptized then?
Yeah. So where I had moved to, I got baptized finally.
Right. And I'm quite interested in, so when you got baptized as Jehovah's Witness, did you ever attain any privileges, as in become a ministerial servant or an elder?
The first thing, Chaka, that they did, that congregation, when I was still dripping water from a baptism pool, they said you should become a pioneer.
Right. Okay.
And with that zeal that I had, I could accept anything. So from the baptism to pioneering,
Right.
and that means my schedule had to change. My involvement with the activities at home had to change, because most of the time I had to be in the ministry.
Yes.
My aunt was pregnant. My uncle was busy, and he always wanted me to be helping around at home, but I was always busy distributing watchtowers and awake magazines.
Right.
So when he sat with me down, telling me to say, Dominic, I still love you. My uncle telling me this, Dominic, I still love you. We still want you to be a normal person. I've got no problem with you being a watchtower, but can you just dedicate your time here? Just help around consistently.
Yeah.
Because you have changed.
Yeah.
I took what my uncle was telling me as persecution.
That's what I was gonna say. That in your mind, that was just like him persecuting you and him trying to prevent you from doing what God wants you to do, what Jehovah wants you to do. Prior to you getting baptized and becoming so zealous, pioneering, you were very concerned about your further education after completing school, going to university and all that. So did that ever happen? Did you ever get any secular qualifications?
Yeah, later on, after my uncle had chased me, I chose to say no. I would rather leave than reducing on my routines and everything.
Your uncle had enough of you just distributing watchtower propaganda material, and he then asks you to kind of step up a bit, and you decided to leave, and then that didn't work out for you.
Yeah, it's the same again who came through for me when I was in trouble. He said, come on, forget about this whole thing. Let's we'll just take you to school anyway. So he offered to take me to school. So when I was in school, I maintained what I call, quote unquote, spirituality.
Right. Yeah. And school, was this university? Was this college?
It was a university, yes.
Right. And okay. And what were you studying at university?
I was studying food and nutrition.
Right. So how did the Jehovah's Witnesses respond to you effectively breaking one of the many Jehovah's Witnesses rules and pursuing higher education?
In the congregation I was, it was still being frowned upon. We had we had a lot of drama, giving talks against us, but giving the talk against the congregation packed with students, but you are giving a talk against them being who they are, that is students.
Not surprising. So I want to touch on your waking up. So what was it that made you start questioning the religion? I know you were quite skeptical in the first place, and then eventually you you were won over, so to speak. But when did the screws start to come off this thing that you were now dedicating a lot of your time to?
Yeah, it started. I just need to be candid. I started dating. I decided to start dating last year.
Right.
So one thing I didn't realize is a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses ladies are frustrated.
Right.
And I just happened to date this one who was frustrated. What was the source of frustration was she loved people who are not Jehovah's Witnesses.
Okay.
So she could even tell me to say, Dominic, you wouldn't have found me if this policy of marrying within the Jehovah's Witness was lifted today. Because I think it's not fair. So it clicked in my mind to say, oh, so this person, she's dating me not because she loves me, but it is out of obligation.
Right.
That you should marry. Yes, because the time I was dating her, I was doing very well in the organization, in the congregation. I was a Messiah servant.
Right.
So to the parents, the father was an elder. So dating someone who is a Messiah servant was a plus to her. She's dating someone who is
spiritual.
Spiritual. But she wasn't happy with it. I could tell. So when she tripped, she left me with so many questions when we broke up.
So I don't know if this is too private, and we can edit it out if it's not appropriate for me to ask. So when you say she tripped, did she start going out with a guy that was not a Jehovah's Witness, or?
I'm not sure, but just a few days after a breakup, she was going out with somebody, but I was not sure if he was a witness or not.
Right.
But now that's how I started asking to say, that was the first police I actually questioned. Yeah. Then we went to a certain function. I met this person who was a witness a long time ago. And he said, I'd stopped being a witness. I'm a Muslim now. So I asked him to say, what made you stop? Because I felt like it was impossible for someone to stop being a witness.
Yes.
How does that even happen? It looked to me like, are you crazy?
Yeah, because you're so convinced that it's the truth. And you're convinced that everybody else who's in the religion is 100% convinced that it's the truth. So
it's the truth.
Yeah, so how can somebody walk away from that?
It's so strange for me. How could you? So I was so curious. So he said, if I show you some books, when you read them, you stop being a witness. I said, who wrote the books? They are posted, right? And not just an apostate, but someone who was a governing board member in a no, stop kidding me. That's not possible that a governing body member can actually stop and become an apostate. It's not possible. Then he showed me with references to say, see this. He showed me the book that was written by Raymond France. And just a few months later, I found that a governing body has been removed from the governing body. I was like, so these things can even happen in this day and age. I thought it was just in the 1970s that this can happen.
Yeah.
So that was actually my first question, Mark, to say, why would this person who is gospel, I considered to be like gospel truth that is leading me to everlasting life, is no longer part of this channel that is only the only channel that God approves. So that was my first question in my awakening. So I started reading the Lemon France, that is Crisis of Conscience. My reason for reading that book, the sole purpose was to like debunk it. That's what I
Right.
can say.
Right.
Yeah, I would say I want to read this book so that I prove him wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But he proved me wrong in just the first chapter.
Right.
We didn't even go to the second.
Right.
I saw a lot of things. The time I went to the second chapter, I finished, and my everything that I had constructed for 7 years
Mm-hmm.
had just been
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And this
demolished to the left.
And this is exactly why the governing body don't want people to read anything or watch anything that's critical of the religion, because the religion just has no foundation. They suck people in by the bombing, emotional manipulation, and things like that. So when you subject the teachings to the slightest bit of scrutiny, everything just falls apart.
So after in the due course of reading the book, now I became more free. I even started looking up things that I could not watch, like the apostate, what I used to call apostate materials. That's how I stumbled upon Lloyd Evans. I started following him, and what he was saying was making sense.
Yeah.
So another one. Then now everything was confirmed to say no way. No way. So I didn't know how to navigate. Knowing that the truth is not the truth. So I started now sharing. The first person I shared this with was my best friend.
Right.
I called him my best friend. He was my best friend. After I shared something with him, he, he just went like la 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 la.
Yeah.
You know, he
That's
never
what
wanted to listen to anything.
that's what Jehovah's Witnesses have been programmed to do, unfortunately.
Yeah. So he left. He said, you are becoming an apostate. He left the following day. He left me. He shunned me. So I looked at it, said, if my friend can shun me, this means other people who are not my friends, they can do something worse. So that's how it became clever. I said, I have to find a way to navigate my way out of this religion. Otherwise, I'm going to be hurt by people.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's how I started looking for resources until I even came across your channel and we started interacting. You've helped me a lot in terms of navigating my way out of the organization. But I would be honest with you, you can't leave the organization without being hurt, even when you have calculated all your moves.
True. And this is why it's a cult. Because they make it impossible for you to leave. There is just no way of you leaving where you can leave and things will just be neat and nice, no matter how well you try to leave, how kind you try to be to people. They'll make it so that your life will be really difficult. So I think that brings me to another question I was just interested in hearing your thoughts on. So what do you think are the difficulties for people in Zambia thinking of leaving the religion? What are the challenges of leaving?
Poverty. That's the first. Other reason will come later.
Yeah. And
do you think people?
Do you think people stay for that reason? Because
Yes.
I know a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses who their survival depends on being a Jehovah's Witness. So maybe they're employed by someone who is a Jehovah's Witness who runs or they do their business around people who are Jehovah's Witnesses. And in Zambia, it's not like you can just, you can go and claim some government benefits if you lose your job, or now you can easily get into some sort of education.
Yeah, so poverty is bad. When you in a state of scarcity, you end up doing things that your conscience doesn't allow just to make money. In my process of my awakening, I helped one person also who was working for my company. So when load shedding came, my company was crumbling.
Yeah. So
So
load shedding, for people who are wondering, is this system they have in Zambia where they ration electricity. So they switch off the electricity because the electricity supplier cannot accommodate the load that they have in terms of their customers. So you have several hours a day where they just switch off the electricity in various parts of the country.
Yeah, so I laid him off. The time I actually did that, he went back to the to the congregation, despite even swearing to say I'll never go back. But because he was offered a job, he decided to go there. So as I'm speaking, he's got a job. He was offered a job by a certain woman who is so indoctrinated. Yeah, so he decided he's taking his own body to the kingdom hall just so that he can have that job.
Yeah, it's a very
And it's not just him. There are a lot who would actually not leave the organization because they fear that they are not going to they will end up in the streets.
Yeah, exactly. There's too much to lose. There's too much to lose. So look, Mchilampondo, we've come to about an hour. So much as this has been an absolutely fascinating discussion, but we'll have to end it there. And I'm sure there's a lot more to talk about. I am very interested in stories like yours because I don't think my experience anyway, I haven't seen so many stories from people who are based in Africa. And I haven't seen a lot of activists that are based in Africa as well. So I think it's really good that you asked to come on the channel and done this interview. I think it will be very, very helpful to people watching this who are based in Zambia and even across Africa. Just to show that you can actually wake up and you can live the religion. Yes, there will be challenges, but there is no you can't put a price on your freedom. You can't put a price on peace of mind and being your own authentic self. So I guess just on that, then any final words to people in Zambia who may be watching this, who are worried about waking up, who are worried about leaving the religion, and not just in Zambia but in Africa in general?
I think what they need to respect is their conscience. Happy is the person who is doing something not against his conscience. I think that's my principle that has helped me.
Yeah.
There is so much to lose if you remain in the organization, because what I know, there are only two things. Once you know the truth, once you wake up, then you decide to go there, you stop being honest-hearted.
Yes.
So it's either you stop being honest-hearted or you leave the organization. There are only two choices that you have to make.
Very, very well said. Very well said. So, Mchilampondo, thank you so much for spending this time with me. And I'm sure we'll have another discussion on the channel because there's so much we need to talk about and there's so much light we need to shed on what people are experiencing in places like Zambia and other parts of Africa who are Jehovah's Witnesses. So, audience, I hope you enjoyed this video, and for other people that are watching this, particularly those that are based in Africa and other, not just in Zambia but other parts of Africa as well, please come onto the channel as well. I would very much love to have you tell your story. And please don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed it. Please don't forget to subscribe to the Anthony Morris Returns channel, and I will see you on another video.
But you can't do that, said one of the critics.
That doesn't bother me.
Really? Again? Really?
Look at that little enemy of God.
Somehow we dilly and dally takes us years, and we wonder why.
What are you waiting for?